Thursday. We'll touch on it briefly. We do play Bournemouth. We'll review it next week, but it'll be after the game rather than before because it does fall on Thursday evening. So Bournemouth are an interesting one, aren't they, Martin? They seem to have a real deep line hatred for us for no reason. It's a bit bizarre. And they're one of them. I always had a soft spot for them. I thought under Eddie Howe, they were quite a likable club. You know, they come from humble backgrounds, and you know they've still got a horrid little tin pot stadium that they reside in, and now they've got these new American owners. It's all kicking off for them, and big investment and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean Gary O'Neill had a tough one coming in from Scott Parker, who completely lost his mind at the end, seemingly. What do you think of them, given that they're starting to pull away from the pack at the bottom now, aren't they? Really, with a couple of results, especially against Tottenham.
I do laugh about the rivalry, and I heard them singing all these songs at Tottenham the weekend. Hold on, we relegated them a couple of years ago, so they got short memories there for starters. Like I quite liked them as a football club. I don't know what the rivalry is all about. I really don't, because I can't really remember a rivalry between Southampton and Bournemouth. The one thing that they've done, O'Neill and his backroom staff there, because they've got a decent backroom staff there, they've really they've done something that we haven't done. They look fitter, they look a little bit stronger, but they look really together, and they actually really work for one another. I noticed the work ethic against Tottenham was really good. No, Tottenham are not a great side, and it just proves, doesn't it, that Bournemouth going actually to Tottenham and getting a result just shows that Tottenham are there for the taking when they come to St Mary's. So again, on Sellers starting up how he did again in his team selection there proves he can't pick a team. So I hold no hope for what he picks against either Arsenal on Friday night or what he does against Bournemouth on Thursday if he's the manager. Jack Stevens is. I speak to a lot of Bournemouth fans around the South Coast, and they've been raving about him. They want him to sign. They reckon he's been outstanding for them. But he's a leader. He's somebody that we needed in the dressing room right now at St Mary's. Top man, Jack Stevens. I know a lot of people want him out the door, but he won't be allowed to play, luckily, against us. But he's been tops for them. But they got a bit out front, haven't they? Solanke's had a bit of time in the Premier League. He's come good. But I think it'd be an interesting game depending on where the table lies after this weekend and how fixtures go with Everton. Forest have got Liverpool, how things sit after this weekend, because it will be interesting and how we finish up. But it's a game that my mate is a season ticket holder. We ain't going to go because he can't bear the thought. We live on the Isle of Wight. He cannot bear the thought of sitting on the Red Jet on the way back, surrounded by Bournemouth fans giving him shit. So I can't deal with it. I'll be there because I love my team and I support my team through thick and thin, and I'll be there next year when we're in the Championship, and I was there when we're in League One before. I will be there. But I think it's a really, really tough game for us. I think it'll be about, maybe hopefully our players can get up for it like Bournemouth have been getting up for their games, because they've certainly turned it around and it's all been about team spirit and working for one another. We could take a leaf out of their book, and Sellers could take a leaf out of their book. But he doesn't like looking at the league, and I don't think he likes to look at looking at other teams, to be quite honest, because he's so freaking arrogant. But be interested to see what happens after this weekend. Will he be the manager next Thursday? I think it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I think as Saints fans, we're generally quite well positioned to chat about Bournemouth's ongoings as well, because a lot of us do stick Solent on the way home from matches and have to sit through a lot of John Williamson and Guy Whitnam and all these guys, and talking about Bournemouth and listen to Gary O'Neill on the way home and stuff. And from what he's been through this season, not once has Gary O'Neill, not when every single fan was calling for action and calling for his head because it looked certain that they were going, not once did he say they need to get behind us and they need to get, they need to help us. It was, I understand, and all I can ask for is their patience, because I'm trying. It wasn't, he took accountability, and look at what the group's doing for him now. They are fighting every week, even if they're not playing great, they're fighting, and you can see it. It's clear to see, and he's clearly he's clearly a man of his morals and stuff. I mean, what happened? I think the technical stuff, stormed down the tunnel, didn't shake his hand and stuff, and he sort of pointed that out, which I found quite amusing. But he's clearly a man who isn't stuck in his way. He's figured out that something wasn't going wrong, and he's changed it because it was going tits up. I mean, they lost to us. What does that say? That's really bad. They lost to us. So he realised something was going wrong. He plays the players that were recruited for him in January. Noted. He's given them chances. Their big one, Dongo Otara, who they spent a lot of money on as a kid from France. I know they own the club that they bought him from and stuff, and that's a little bit whatnot, but doesn't matter. But Dongo Otara has struggled. He's a young kid. He's shown flashes, but overall he's been pretty poor. And yet he pops up with a winning goal against Tottenham. Because, what happens when you give a player a chance that you've signed on the basis that you think he's good enough? And Gary O'Neill's trusted his higher ups and he's worked with it. And I've got a lot of respect for that. I've got a lot of respect for it. I've got respect for the way that he conducts himself. I'm a bit embarrassed for the Bournemouth fans and the way they're conducting themselves with this whole rivalry nonsense. I think there's more rivalry between Southampton and Gosport Town than there is Southampton and Bournemouth. It's not a thing. So yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting atmosphere. Like you, I'll be there. Probably head in hands most of the game, but we'll see. Hard to put a score prediction in because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you could, Martin, would you dare to give me some sort of prediction?
I think we'll beat him at home. Maybe sneak a 1-0 win. Maybe. I'd like to see us win, depending on what happens. Depends if we get absolutely obliterated tomorrow night at the Emirates. I think if we got obliterated, confidence could be low. But I don't want to see us go down with a whimper. No, but it looks like we're odds-on favourites to go down. We know that. But I just want to show a bit of fight and a bit of character now. That they could be safe by the time they play us anyway. They're stay up Bournemouth now, just by putting that run again. Just shows by that little international break was an opportunity to reset, come back, and really hit the ground running. They did, we didn't. And that's the difference. And it just showed if we could have got that run together, we would have got out of it. But we needed to put that run together, that bit of consistency, all this nonsense about an identity and a style of play. He ain't got a clue about identity and style of play. Hasn't got a clue. And I can't believe these players. Look at that. Honestly, I could go on about it all day, but go back to the Bournemouth game. I think it'd be really tough, but I'd love to see just a 1-0 win.
Yeah, I'd like to see a win as well. I am going to get my early 1-0 loss in because I do think it will be a very horrible place to be come that 90-minute mark. I can feel a lot of anger, but then again, if we go and beat Arsenal tomorrow, you never know. So it's football's a funny game, and us fans are fickle, and there's no hiding from that. But I think I'm going to get it in now. I do think we probably will lose because we never show up. And yeah, I agree with you. It's funny it's amazing what a small little run of games can do. And I was speaking to my brother-in-law about this today, and I said that the thing is with us after the international break is we didn't even need to go like string games together. I don't think any fans were sort of like, right, we need to win one and then get a draw and then win the next one and then we got all this confidence. I don't think it was like that. I mean, I look at it, if we would have actually decided to lace our boots up and play some football against Nottingham Forest at home, and Nottingham Forest that had only scored one away goal all season, and we'd won against them, even if we just nicked one scrappy, we'd beaten Forest, the worst away record in the league if we'd just beaten Forest at home, which it was not a tall order. And then if we had gone and taken 3 points when we were 1-0 up against 10 men at home against Wolves, we wouldn't even be in the relegation zone. And that's keeping everything else the same. It'd say every single result, bar those two, would have gone the same. If we would have picked up 3 points in a game we were winning with an extra man, and a game we should have won but didn't show up, we wouldn't be in this relegation zone. So I don't even think it's about like we need one and then another and then another. I think it's the fact that we've not shown up so consistently as to why we are where we are, and the players.
We haven't beaten the teams around us, have we?
No,
the teams
never.
around us, the games that we had to win, like you say, the Forest, the Wolves, the West Hams.
It's the severity of the bottle as well. The severity of the bottle.
Even Palace at the weekend. Yeah, and the fact that players down the tools like they do. Because, Jesus, they're not proud to put on the Southampton football shirt. That's for sure.
No, it's
They're all
embarrassing.
they're all on the phone onto their agents. They're like literally, can you get me a move? Can you get me a move? Where can I be next
Mm.
year? That's all they're doing, mate. There's no doubt about
Mm.
that.
Body language is massive as well. And when you look at, I looked after I just sat there in my seat for probably 10, 15 minutes while the stadium cleared on Saturday. And as sad as it sounds, I was sat there just taking it in, listening to the Palace fans singing and thinking, like this was us not long ago, enjoying the sing songs and just thinking that I've probably got there's 4 more times going to do this while we're in the Premier League, and God knows when I'm going to do this again. So I just sat there, I took it in, I watched everything, I watched how the players interacted with each other. I just sat and took everything in, and the body language after you've just lost, like the way you lost, players standing about and covering their mouths for a chat with the other guy, the opposition, like almost to talk about. What else is there to talk about? You're not going to say, "Oh, that was a great game, mate." You're going to talk personal stuff. Maybe they know each other through agents or friends or played with certain players that do. They're going to be talking about where they're heading, what they're going to do. The players are egotistical. Football players have massive egos. This is built up into them. They have egos, and they will be not want to be seen by other players as to be going down with a whimper. They'll be pointing fingers. They stand there after the game talking to the guys who've just smashed them with a look on their face as if I'm better than this. No, you're not, mate. None of you are better than that. And the fact you're standing about to have a nice chit chat with those boys that have just smashed you. Could you imagine, for example, a Roy Keane knocking about doing that after a game? Oh my Lord.
Talk about Roy Keane. Now that's the one thing we lack, isn't it? Not Roy Keane, but we lack leaders. You need leaders, and that's the one thing I tweeted about this week. About the seasons when we were in League One and in the Championship before, when we had to try and get promotions, when the club was a mess. You have to have leaders in the dressing room. And it's a good point you've made, Josh, is from the goalkeeper to the centre-half to the central midfielder to the striker, the spine of the team, for me, next year, has to be seriously looked at. And I'm including the goalkeeper in that, because everyone thinks that Bazunu's good enough for the Championship. I think he needs a really good backup, or they need to bring someone in with some real experience to help him. Because if we had a number 2 that was good enough, they would have been in the side a long time ago, back at Forest, because he needed taken out the side, that boy. But they don't have leaders. James Ward-Prowse is supposed to be the leader. Yeah, he might lead by example and the way he conducts himself on and off the pitch. He's not a Roy Keane. He's not a Stuart Pearce, Paul Ince type player, is he? He doesn't lead vocally. And that's what that side need. They need someone that's vocal. Like you say, there's just no leaders there. There's no leaders there, mate. I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
Yeah, go back to League One, because you mentioned it. Spine of the team, Kelvin Davis in goal, Jose Fonte at centre back, Dean Hammond centre mid, Ricky Lambert striker. That's a spine of leaders. Every single one of them was a leader.
And the likes of Jaidi in League One as well.
Yeah. Radi Jaidi,
top guy
as well. Big Radi. And you look at like that spine. It's beggars belief that we don't even the one player that could do that, or maybe 2 of them. Maybe Fraser was that sort of guy as well. But we've sent him out on loan. Jack Stevens was the only person who did that for us. The only person. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I know I'd use Roy Keane as an example, but I as I said it, I'm thinking back in the old Great Escapes. Could you ever imagine being at the Dale, sat there after you've just lost a dismal game against a Palace or a Fulham or someone like that, someone you should be challenging? And could you imagine sat there looking at Franny Benali and Jimmy Case and Matt Letitia covering their mouths with their hands on their hips, talking to the opposition who've just smacked them? It would never happen. They'd hang their heads, they'd walk off that pitch, and they'd take a good hard look at themselves because they cared. It's sickening what we're going through. Sickening to see what these players are doing.
They're all multi-millionaires. And how do you motivate a multi-millionaire? I had this conversation with someone the other day. It's a massive part of it because they'll be looking for the next contract. All these players will be looking for the next contract because some of them have relegation clauses. The majority of them would, so they're taking. I spoke to a football agent a couple of days ago. It's a 40 to 50% cut in wages when you get relegated. So look, they'll all be looking for moves. And do you know what? People keep. I took a lot of stick this week for a few things I've said about players and having a massive clear out in the summer and maybe not starting Bazunu next season, and people say, "Oh, he's good enough for the championship. Mara's good enough for the championship. He's good enough for the championship." It's like they're a bunch of losers at this moment in time. What they've down tools, they're not fit to wear this football shirt, the Southampton football shirt at the moment. What's going to make them in a lower league, the championship, a scrappy league, all of a sudden want to put on the Southampton football shirt, wear it with passion, and change mentality? Because the mentality of the players we've got in that current crop is bad, and I would say we're going to need to lose 15, 20 of those players. We've got a 35-man squad. There might be 2 or 3 that you could rely on there, but God, are they going to have a clear out this summer with relegation? Wow.
No,
honestly, we'll do a whole podcast on it easy on what you'd have to do.
Absolutely, but also I agree with that. I saw your tweets. I agree with everything you said, and for people to be as naive as to think that the boys would just walk the championship when they clearly didn't sit through the Grimsby game because they got outfought by 11 men on that night. They weren't League Two players on that night. They were 11 men who wanted it more than they did. It was pitiful to watch.
They've got a losing mentality. That is the problem. Dreadful. When you get a losing mentality, it could spiral out of control in the next division. No, not only do we talk, we can go through all the lower league sides we played against this year. You know, the FA Cup against Blackpool, they were absolutely dreadful. They were awful. They looked way short. You would have thought they were in leagues above us. Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup, dreadful.
Yeah. Awful.
Yeah, they had to go to penalties. Like, they talk about Adam Armstrong dropping down and being a key player in the Championship. His confidence is so shot. Yeah, he might have had a good record before, but he's been a part of a losing mentality. The guy's got no confidence. He's not going to want to be here next season. And anyone that thinks that Shay Adams is going to be here next season is naive. He won't be here next season because he'd be a good backup striker for someone in the Premier League. He'd be a good squad player for, say, Everton if they stay up, for a West Ham if they stay up. These sort of sides, he'd get a Premier League move and he'd get big bucks. He's not going to go and play in the Championship. He's done that. Oh yeah, keep them. They'll do a great job. They've been part of a losing mentality, guys. Come on, let's get to grips with it. All these people arguing, like, they're losers at this moment in time. They've not shown fight and commitment in the Premier League. They will not show it in a lower league, and that is an absolute fact.
Totally agree. Absolutely agree. Mentality has to shift if they want to do anything in any league, and if they carry themselves into it, if they do get a move, Walker Peters had a interview with Alfie House actually in the Echo, and I would recommend you go and have a look at it because it speaks volumes, I think, because one of the main things Walker Peters said is you don't just get a move. So I don't know whether he's saying, well, I may not deserve a move, but I'm looking for one anyway, or whether he's pointing fingers at others and saying, well, they, other players are thinking about it, but they want to be a little bit less naive. I don't know. There's a lot of questions there, but the thing is, I agree with you, and it's very interesting in the way you say, how do you motivate a millionaire and all that sort of stuff? Because these boys have got no motivation, they've got no drive, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I haven't seen anything there since maybe Chelsea. There was something there, but Chelsea were poor. Chelsea showed us their bellies. They were really, really poor. I don't see anything. At the minute, I don't see us picking up 2 points from now to the end of the season. Unless something.
With 4 points from safety, you don't see us getting 4 points, do you? With 4 points from safety, will we get 4 points between now and the end of the season?
I can't at the moment, like you say, with the losers, which is what they are that we've got. With the losers we've got, we may get a point against Bournemouth. we could possibly get a point against Fulham if we really wanted it, because I think that's the last game before Mitrovic comes back. If I'm right, we may get a point against Fulham. Everyone else will smash us if we go in like we have been. We get battered. It's just it's awful. Something has to change.
We're easy to play against. We're predictable to play against.
Exactly.
Anyone that plays us, sussed us out. Well, it's all right to play the ball across the back foot and have loads of possession and make 300 passes or whatever Ward-Prowse is making, but you got influence the game at the higher end of the field. We're in a relegation scrap on them. We're on Saturday at St Mary's, and we're in a must win game, and we're playing it across the back foot. It is absolutely criminal. How is it acceptable to play like that in one of the? And you can see why they've lost faith, the fans, and season ticket renewals in the Championship. I'll tell you what, that's going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks, because all us fans will be looking at what our season tickets are going to be next season, and they're going to have to be freaking careful, that football club, because they will lose fans now. Like my two daughters have had enough now. They're fed up of watching us lose all the time. There'll be people there. So I know older grown men, sort of retired, they've had enough. They're fed up with it. There will have to be a mentality shift top to bottom in that football club to really, really turn it around and to have a proper go next season. Because, like you said early on in this podcast, this Rasmus Ankersen, he's got a big ego. He won't want to be in the He won't want to be seen to be getting relegated, let alone struggling in the Championship. Big decisions are coming on and off that football field.
Massively. It's just so embarrassing. You know, we're not using our players who are meant to be the ones that are creating things and scoring goals and stuff, like you say, playing Ward-Prowse potentially out of position, and it's just there's so much wrong. If it doesn't start tomorrow night, it won't. We're done. If we don't show anything tomorrow, we're done. Consider it done. If you haven't already. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us ramble for the past hour and a half. It's tough at the moment. Everybody's feeling it. It's nice just to be able to get it out. And hopefully some of the things that we're saying and experiencing are giving you almost a comfort that you're not going crazy, and that you are also feeling a similar way. If you're not, get in touch. We love to hear it. Everyone's got their opinion. That's the beauty about this game, is that nothing is right. You can have an opinion. It's fine, and it's good to talk about. It's good to hear it. So get in touch with us. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're on it all. Links will be in our description. At Saints Way Pod on Twitter. If you want to head over there, everything's on there as well. And do actually head over there and on our Facebook if you search Southampton Way Podcast, because in the next couple of weeks we have got a big guest on, who I'm sure you'll want to hear every word this man has to say. He will be revealed in the week, so keep an eye on that. Martin, thank you for joining me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I found it quite therapeutic in some way or form, actually.
I'll bet. Yeah. So we'll catch up again next week, mate. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and hope to see you again next week.